In the last 20 years, we have seen some horror stories. Just when you think you've seen it all, something else crazy happens. I thought today it would be fun to share some of those stories with you and maybe some of the things we also learned about them, because I've got to make it educational. So today, let's have some fun and share some stories. If we haven't met before, I'm Michelle Kelsey, founder of the Nanny Solution by Nannies on Call. Each week, I bring you new videos to educate and inspire you to get better jobs, make more money, and become leaders in the industry. Let's share some stories today. Well, as you know, I've been in this a long time. I've been placing nannies and working in the nanny industry for over 20 years. And I have seen some things. Let's go back to one of my oldest favorite stories. All these stories have actually happened more than one time, and I'm just using one example of them. But these are things that happen on a regular basis, and we're gonna learn from them and grow from them as well. The first one is about a banana. Once, a long time ago, a client paged me. For those of you who are millennials or Gen Zs, a pager is something we used to use back in the day because cell phones were so expensive to have. So the client would page, leave a voicemail. I get a message on the pager. I'm going to put one on the screen, so if you don't know what it is, you'll see. And then I would get the phone number, go to a pay phone or my home phone, and then listen to the message, and then decide if I was going to call the client or the nanny back or not, depending on how important it was. So this client paged me and told me in the voicemail that the nanny had eaten a banana in her home and what steps should she take. Of course, I was a little taken aback because most families open their pantries to the nannies and that eating a banana would not be a problem. So I called the nanny just to check in and ask her what happened during the day. And what she tells me is she was supposed to be there for 5 hours. The client ended up keeping her for 9 hours. She was starving because she didn't bring anything to eat. And she chose the banana because A, they had a lot of them. B, they're a cheap fruit, so it wasn't like she was eating something expensive out of their fridge. And she thought it would be okay, and she ate it quickly, still while taking care of the children. Then I called the client and I explained the situation, and she said to me, I don't want the nannies to be making elaborate meals when they're working in my home. It's a banana. It's not an elaborate meal. What I've learned since, and I've grown from, because this was one of my first experiences, although many families open up their pantries to the nanny, there are some families who are not comfortable with doing that and expect the nanny to bring their own food. So I have another video I'll put up there about what to put in your nanny bag. Always take a snack with you. It's a good example of a nanny who was working a 5-hour day, ended up being there 9 hours, didn't have any food with her. Always pack a snack. That's the lesson. And finding out in an interview or before you take a job if the family is willing to share their pantry with you, because that might make a difference to how you feel about it. Really, in the grand scheme of things, this is not too much of a horror story, I tell you, but we're gonna get into some next. This next one has also happened several times, and it's to do with alcohol. A nanny who became comfortable or friendly with the family she was working for. She was working for them one evening, not her regular schedule, but one evening. The parents were going out with friends, and before they left, they had a drink of wine. So they had opened a bottle of wine. When they left, they said to the nanny, after you put the kids down for bed, go ahead and have a glass of wine. And it's not a problem. The kids sleep through the night. We really don't mind. She felt comfortable with this family, and they had offered it to her. She had a glass of wine after the kids went to bed. What happened next is the hard part. The nanny says she only drank a bottle of wine. The client came home and said, we had only had a little bit out of the top of the bottle, and she drank 3/4 of the bottle. Who knows who's right? I don't know. I wasn't there. The parents might have drank more than they thought. The nanny might have drank more than she thought. But the lesson to learn is that you should never, ever drink on the job. Nannies have told us they've been offered drugs, alcohol, to do shots and alcohol with the parents before they even go out for the evening. The answer is no. You're a professional nanny, and this is a total horror situation because you do not want to put yourself at risk. You do not want to put the children at risk, and you don't want to ever be accused of something like the nanny was. This next horror story has happened to us more than once. This has happened on our on-call nanny side. In this case, the nanny went for the evening. She showed up. There were 2 boys. They were not siblings. They weren't a married couple, so they were dating. So each partner had one child and they were about the same age. Not a problem. The nanny arrives. The parents were supposed to be back at 2 a.m. At 8 a.m. the next morning, the nanny called me and said, the parents still aren't home. I've tried calling them. I've tried emailing them. I've texted them. I have no idea how to get a hold of them. So of course, I tried to get a hold of the parents as well. Nothing. Then I talked to the nanny again. She tells me there's no food in the house and the children are starving. I get in my car, I go to the grocery store, I grab a few things, I take them to the children for breakfast, some bagels and peanut butter. We're feeding them breakfast. We're trying to decide what to do. Finally, we decide we have to call Children's Services because it's now mid-morning. The parents haven't got back. We haven't been able to get a hold of them. We're worried something happened to the parents. We call the police non-emergency line and they say they're sending someone out. During the next hour to two, I can't remember exactly how long, the parents come home and act like nothing happened. All they do is pay the nanny, thank her for her time, and she needs to walk out. I was actually there when the parents got home. It was insane. This has happened more than once to us. I don't know what the lesson learned is, but parents go out, have a good time, drink. In this case, the parents ended up getting a hotel room downtown and just not coming home. And they were obviously very drunk, did drugs, whatever they did, and they didn't come home till the next day. And Child Services had been called. They didn't follow up with us, but there may have been some follow-up with the parents. And I think that's all we could have done at that point. We made sure the kids were safe and fed and that the authorities had been called. But what a scary situation. I think that's one of the worst situations we've had. I'm so worried that the parents are in an accident and something has happened to them, and I'm terrified for the children. That's really what it comes down to. This next one's a doozy. This is also on our on-call nanny side. We had a client call and book. She has 3 children. The nanny shows up and the mom says, my oldest can have a few friends over and here's some money for pizza, and walks out the door. The nanny looks down and there's $300 for pizza, which she's a bit shocked by. Obviously, it's a lot of money for 3 kids plus the 4 extra. She then realizes why she needs $300 because 11 children show up. 11 instead of 4. Again, calls mom, says 4 kids didn't show up, 11 children showed up. Mom says, oh, it's totally fine. Well, this is not what the nanny signed up for the evening, but she's a great nanny. She's professional. She feels she can handle the situation. So she says, okay, fine. Then she orders the pizzas. The kids grab the pizzas. They go upstairs to his room. And I think he's in the 11 to 13-year-old range. They go upstairs to the room. The nanny doesn't hear anything for a little bit, so is worried. Goes upstairs to check on them. They're not in his bedroom. They're on the roof. So she's got 12 kids on the roof eating pizza. 1. 2, they're throwing pizza and pop cans off the roof. Calls mom, can't get a hold of her. Finally gets the children inside, telling them it's not safe. Then the younger 2 children want to sleep on the trampoline out back. Mom had said it was fine. So the nanny goes to get them, the younger kids, set up on the trampoline safely to sleep. And she can't let them sleep out there because they've been throwing pizza down off the roof and the raccoons have started coming into the yard. Oh, this poor nanny, I can't even imagine. Finally, she gets most of the kids out the door, gets the kids who live there to bed, and is finally settling in. It's late. Mom comes home, very drunk, with a guy that the nanny's never seen, but she's only worked there once, so fine. But the nanny tries to talk to mom to explain to her what happened with the kids on the roof and the throwing things and the safety concerns. And mom's having none of it, goes in, grabs a bottle of wine, 2 glasses, and pays the nanny and walks upstairs. And that's the end of it. And the nanny's there to let herself out. She's been paid, mom's home, kids are safely in bed. But, oh, the nightmare for this nanny. Needless to say, we did not service this client again in the future. What could this nanny have done differently? Really, in the beginning, when 11 children were coming over, she should not have let them in the door. I know mom said it was okay, but it was not the job the nanny signed up for. She didn't get compensated properly for all those children, and it wasn't safe for one person to be in charge of all those children. She should have called mom to say, come home, that she needed to leave. Or she could have called the agency and we would have helped her out, because that's what we're here for. And all we can do moving forward is not service that client again with our on-call service. Well, those are just a few crazy stories and nanny horror stories we've seen. Of course, for every nanny horror story, there's a client horror story of things that have happened with nannies. I just wanted to have some fun, share some of the things that have happened over the years. We've seen extremely drunk parents. We've seen inappropriate behavior in terms of making passes at nannies. We've seen nannies be offered drugs and alcohol. It's amazing the things we've seen in these families' homes. I'm sure you've seen some things too, and all we can do is grow and learn from these experiences. If you want to share any of the experiences you have, I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll see you next Saturday.